Well, hello everyone. All right, today I decided to do something a little different. Today I'm going to do something, a little story time. I'm going to tell you guys about why I quit my job, the last official 9 to 5 job that I had, and how it ended me up on YouTube eventually. I totally credit something that happened in 2012 as to eventually being like the turning point that made all this happen. So basically what happened was in 2012, I had started, I had a night job. I worked for a health food delivery service. We prepared meals for celebrities and athletes and people that were on fitness plans, and I would deliver them at night. So from 10 p.m. till about 5 or 6 a.m. I was out driving all over the greater Los Angeles area, 100+ miles a night. Well, during the day, I was also trying to do some acting, and I had done a few projects, and I had worked with this girl and become friends with her. We'll call her Morgan for this. And I had kind of dated Morgan a little bit, like we liked each other and everything, but our schedules were way too off. And so all of a sudden at one point, we start dating. And you know, like, she was real, like, all or nothing kind of person. Either she, like, you could tell she really liked you, or she didn't seem like she cared at all. And so for a while, she didn't seem really like she cared that much at all, which made me work even harder. But then she started to come around, and she started to like me, and I could tell. And right around this time, she told me that she was being stalked by a guy that she had dated previously before me, and that he hadn't really been a problem, but that he had become a problem now. And he had, I guess his lease had been up when she stopped dating him, and so she said she didn't know where he was or whatever, but he was constantly texting her and like taking pictures of her when she was at places, like stalking her basically. And so she was renting a month-to-month room inside of a house, and she was concerned that he was going to do something, because he was his job was that he was a background actor, but specifically police roles. He owned his own equipment and everything, so that when projects came up they needed somebody, he would be in the database because he already had all of his own stuff. And generally, sometimes people that are that into something like that, they wanted to do that as a career and weren't able to for one reason or another. And she had told me that he had told her that he had had some mental issues in the past, and his family had wrongly committed him at one point. So everything about this was not good. And so he was starting to really bother her. And so we thought that it would be better for her to move into my apartment where I could kind of protect her and look out for her. So that's what we did. Now granted, we didn't know each other all that well, but we got along, and I'm a pretty easy person to get along with. But like I said, she was a real, like, all or nothing kind of person. So once she had made the switch and that she really liked me, she went from like not caring to being extremely possessive. Like if she knew that I was texting any like friends that were girls that I had known for a long time, she would get really upset. We would have actually kind of a few fights because I would go off like days that we would usually go hiking together, but if I woke up early and went without her, if she got on the computer, she might find like an old picture of someone I dated. And the reason for that was because back in those days, that computer I'd had for like 7 years, I couldn't afford to replace it. And so I used my phone for my iPod, and I would always update, like every day, plug my phone into my computer, and it would save all the photos from my phone. So there were, you know, years worth of photos of people I had dated, or maybe even went on one date with, and they sent me a photo to, like, you know, put as the contact photo or something. So she would get mad a lot about that kind of stuff. And it got to a point where that guy was texting her and everything, so she would constantly change her phone number, and he knew somebody at her phone company, so every time she changed her number, within a day or two, she would get a text from him saying, "I found you, ha ha ha," like stuff like that. Well, she also had this like one thing that she really cared about. She had a pretty bad childhood, but you know, I guess sometimes when you have a good certain number of years, things like that stick with you. And so she had her very first baby blanket that she wanted to keep and give to her child someday. So when she moved in, she asked me, where is the safest place I can put this? I want to make sure nothing happens, nothing gets spilled on it or anything. I want to either incorporate it into a quilt or give it to my daughter or something someday. And so one day we go hiking and we come back to my apartment, and she is going to change her clothes and take a shower, and she says, "Did you move my blanket?" And I said, "No, I wouldn't touch your blanket." And she said, "Are you sure? Are you sure you didn't?" I go, "No, I didn't touch it." She goes, "It's gone." I go, "It can't be gone." She's like, "It's gone." She's looking everywhere. So she's kind of like worried and upset, and within the next 2 hours, on her new phone number, she gets a text from that guy, and it's a photo of him holding the blanket up to his face like that, and she just lost it. I mean, you're talking some Sam Peckinpah type nonsense right now. I mean, this is getting really creepy, and we had went to the police, and there was really nothing they could do because she didn't know where this guy had moved to. Like I said, when she quit seeing him, he had moved out of the place that he was living, and so they really had no way of contacting him. So this was starting to really like put a strain on, because she was needing me more and more and more. And on top of that, we didn't really, like I said, we didn't really have that much in common, other than that we were just like nice people and that we liked each other. But as far as our interests, we didn't have really anything in common. And one of the other problems we had was that she was adamantly against any kind of drugs and alcohol. I mean, she did not want any of it in her life in any way. She would not be with someone that did anything like that. And one night, our friend John Wan, that you guys know from this channel, was having a show, and we were all meeting up. Michael and John, we were all meeting up, and we met up at Michael's house. And when we walked in, Michael goes, do you want a drink or anything?" And I said, like, he was going to make cocktails. And I said, "No, I'm okay." And all of a sudden, like, I look over at her, and she's got this really angry look on her face. And I go, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I thought you don't drink." And I go, "I have them occasionally, but yeah, you know, it's not something I need." And she goes, "Why would he offer it to you if you didn't drink all the time?" And I go, "Because he's a nice guy. That's what people do when you hang out." So she was already kind of mad about that. And then when we went to the venue, it turned out to be at a bar. So she got really mad. I said, I have no control over where the performance space is, but she was mad. And in one song, we had to leave because she was so furious. I could tell this was not going well, but she was living with me, and so you have to at least, you know, try and give it a good shot, especially because this guy was still bothering her, and he was still posting pictures of her and him on his Twitter, and this had been like over for a couple of months, I think, at that point. And then she called the phone company, and they said the only thing that they could do for her at this point, because they didn't know who was giving out her phone number to this person, they said they had to completely take her name out of the system and assign her a number, and she would have to call every month, save that number. If she lost that number, she was screwed. They said, you have to keep this number and give us this number, and that's how you'll pay your bill from now on, just to get away. So eventually, it came to a head one night when we were watching a movie. She wanted me to see a movie called End of Watch. Now, it was a police drama type movie, and she really loved those kind of movies, and I'm guessing that's probably why she dated that guy. She probably met him on set and, you know, liked the whole police officer thing. So anyway, we're watching this movie, and I grew up with my parents watching police dramas a lot, so I felt like, you know, this was just some old like piece of garbage I've seen before. Like, I had you know, the scenarios and stuff I'd seen a million times. There was just nothing about this movie that appealed to me, and I did have to go to work after the movie. We were watching it right before I went to work, so I was periodically picking up my phone, checking the time to make sure that it wasn't going past, because to me the movie was so freaking slow, I couldn't judge time anymore. But after the movie was over, the moment it was done, she goes, "Well, I don't even have to ask whether you like the movie or not. It was pretty obvious by how many times you checked your phone that you didn't." And I go, "Well, I told you I don't really like police drama movies. I mean, I just feel like I've seen them all, you know, every scenario." And I said, "And I have to go to work, so I was just checking the time." She goes, "Whatever." And I could just see in her face, like, she was like dead-faced, like deadpan face. This person who was always jealous about like every little thing, every time I got a text from somebody or every photo they found. One time she got really mad at a photo she saw on my Facebook, and it was my cousin. It was me meeting my cousin. I didn't see my cousin in like 10 years. Yeah, so I could just see that she was like dead-faced, and I said, does it really bug you that much that I didn't enjoy it? And she said, it's my favorite movie of all time. And I go, what? And she goes, it's my favorite movie of all time, and you didn't care about it at all. And I go, I can see in your face you don't have any feelings for me at all anymore, do you? And she said, that's not true. And I said, I can see it on your face. You don't care at all anymore. And she's like, no, that's not true. Just go to work. It's fine. Well, okay. The problem with this is this was about 2 weeks before my birthday. And on my birthday, we had made an agreement when we were really getting along great. This is maybe one of those situations where you probably shouldn't do something like this, but it did lead to what I'm doing now. So that's why I'm telling you this, is that she had told me when we were really getting along, she said, why don't you quit your job and we will do, between the two of our incomes, we'll be fine. You won't have to carry the load all yourself, and that'll leave us more time to audition, to do background work, to do audience work, whatever it is that we have to make money, we'll be fine. And I go, I'm not that guy. I don't like relying on someone else. I really like relying on myself, and I've never not had like a full-time job, like a secure job that I knew I was getting a paycheck all the time. And she said, we can do it, trust me, like we can do this. And I said, okay. I thought about it, and I said, you know what, I love documentaries, and the part in a documentary that I love the most is when you see the moment that changed for whoever you're watching, and they say that, photobomb, and they say the moment that changed was when I took off with the band to go play this tour, and I quit my job knowing I wasn't going to have a job to come back to, or I abandoned my apartment. It was either pay rent or go on tour or something, or go run to Hollywood. So I just ran to Hollywood and didn't pay my rent. All those moments when you would hear that was the life-changing moment, I was always like, how do you have the guts to make that decision? How do you take that leap? And she was basically telling me, I will help you pay for everything so that you don't have to do it alone, and we can do it together. So I had put in my month notice. I gave him a month's notice because I had been there for over 5 years. I thought, that's a classy move, is to give them more than enough time to find somebody. Well, on my birthday, we found out that Flaming Lips were gonna play my birthday. They were playing the fair, the Orange County Fair, and she had never seen them, and I wanted to go. And so she said, I was thinking of doing something for you for your birthday. What would you like? And I said, well, I really want to go see the Flaming Lips. They're playing that night. And she said, okay, so let's go. I'll buy you tickets. So she bought me tickets. And then as it got closer, we were having trouble getting along. Like I said, I felt like it was just like every little thing was bugging her. And I think it was because, she liked a certain type of music. She liked Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber in those days. And I was listening to Flaming Lips and Afghan Wigs and things like that. So they were, and oddly enough, Miley Cyrus and Flaming Lips would eventually make music together, so they would have eventually collided, but she wasn't really that keen on seeing Flaming Lips. She just wanted to go see me have fun. But as it got closer and we were having problems getting along, it also dawned on me that the Flaming Lips crowd would be people smoking pot, they would definitely be drinking, there would definitely be everything that she was opposed to. And if she was mad about it being at a bar before, she's definitely gonna be mad that I took her to a fair where people are doing it. So I calmly found a way to basically say, I don't think it's a good idea that you go to the concert with me, because I don't think that in the end, even though I know that the experience itself would be awesome, I think that the other things around it will ruin it for you. And she said, fine, then I won't go. And was kind of upset, but I didn't really know what else to do. So I asked Michael to go with me to the concert, and Michael went. And we were at the concert, and actually the night before the concert was my last day of work. I had made it so that officially when I clocked out, it would be the morning of my birthday. I believe it was my 32nd birthday, and that I would start with a whole clean slate. So I was officially now unemployed, and I was gonna figure out my own way with her. Michael picks me up, we go to the concert, and we're at the fair, we're hanging out and everything, and I said, I don't know, man, something just doesn't feel right today. Something just doesn't feel right. We go to sit down for the show, and they're literally setting up the stage between bands, and the Flaming Lips are about to come on, and she sends me a text and says, I just packed my things, I've decided to move back to the state that I'm from. I'm gonna drive off today, goodbye. And she left. And I looked at Michael and said, dude, what am I gonna do now? And he said, don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything will be fine. He said, you know, you got me, you got friends, we'll make sure everything's okay. Just have faith that everything will work out. And it was hard to enjoy that concert that night. But the next day I just like nose to the grindstone, and I just started looking for every piece of background work, everything that I could find, every audition. I told my agent that I was now no longer employed, so I could audition anytime, anywhere, go anywhere. I didn't have anything to hold me back, nothing to make plans around or anything like that. And believe it or not, for 4 years, I eked by every month. Not doing well, not doing terrible, but eked by. And earlier in my life, I had known the actress Shelley Winters. I've talked about it, you know, ad nauseum on here for some of you guys. But when she met me, she thought that I had a great personality, and she always said, you should be a performer, you should be an actor. And if you're not, you're wasting your life. So when I was doing that night delivery job, a friend of mine had offered to help me get a sales job at Sears and said, you'd be a great salesman. So he got me in the program, and in the first week of training, the guy who was training pulled me aside and said, man, you are a good actor. You know, these sales drills are not easy, and I mean, you're really good on both sides, being the pushy sale, or not being the pushy sale, but being the hard to deal with customer, and the salesman that can get around somebody like that. And he said, have you ever thought about being an actor? And I said, I really have. And he said, if you do this job, you're gonna make a lot of money, but I don't think you're gonna be that happy. I think you should try being an actor first. I'll rehire you to do this anytime you want. He couldn't do it now because I think Sears went under, but he said, but I think you owe it to yourself, because if you do this, you're gonna make so much money, you won't care about ever auditioning, because you'll see it as a waste of time and money. And he said, I just think you should consider it. So I had thought about what Shelley said, I had thought about that. And so part of me leaving and agreeing to, you know, I was doing that during the day and doing the delivery job at night for about a week or 2 weeks, trying to figure out if I was gonna quit one and do the other. And in the end, I basically ended up quitting both of them. And then over the 4-year span, I paid my dues doing background work and just doing everything, doing catering jobs. And one day I went into an audition, and the lady really liked me right away, and she said, I can't believe I've never seen your picture in here for an audition. And I said, do you not see people from my agency? And she said, they're one of my favorites. I see them all the time. That's why I don't know who you are. And I said, how do I change that? And she said, I think you should consider doing something on your own. Do like a web series, or do something on YouTube. Just, you know, let your personality, something that you're interested in, just see what happens. So that's basically how this all started, is that on my cell phone, I just thought, you know, I love going places, and I've been told I'm a good storyteller at times. Maybe what I should do is, maybe I should just go around and show all the cool places that I wanted to see in my life and tell why they're significant. And I started doing that in 2016. So from 2012 to 2016, I had 4 years of complete uncertainty all the time, never knowing whether I was going to make money or not. And it also took me 4 years to get my act together and figure out what it was that I did want to do. Doing a lot of background work and things like that to that point had me on sets a lot, and what it did show me was that I didn't really want to do that anymore. I didn't want to be on a set for my life, so I wanted to find something else. So when she said that, a light went off, and here we are today. I've since I think it was 2016 in August is when I started, and it was about 1.5 years later that one day I was doing a catering job, and I was just being mistreated as usual on there, and and my income had kind of got to the point where I felt like I can get by on this, but I didn't want to give up anything that I was doing for extra income. And I had such a terrible experience the last catering job that I remember the lady there saying, you know what, we're gonna make you the manager of coffee, so every time that we do an event, you'll be head of the coffee station. And the coffee station's like the worst job. But one of the things that bothered me about doing catering was that if you were a good employee, you kind of got penalized, because instead of, you know, getting rid of the bad employees, they would just ignore the bad employees and just make all the good employees do more work. I just never liked that mentality. I always just was so self-motivated in everything I did that I just thought, well, if I'm gonna be self-motivated, I should do something for myself. So I would tell you, the hardest move to ever make is to give up something that's completely secure, but I really do think in my case, it was no risk, no reward. If I wouldn't have watched all those documentaries kind of teaching me that lesson, that was always the lesson. I mean, I always remember watching every single thing and going, that's the moment I don't think I would have had the guts to do what they did. And in the end, I think sometimes you have to gamble on yourself and you have to roll the dice. And even though it all came about by a series of bad decisions, I think you have to let your whole life play itself out and guide you where you're supposed to go. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys. I hope that gives you the motivation, if you were thinking of doing something, to figure out a plan and try. And you know, from the time that I started this channel, like I said, I've always been self-motivated, so I just said I'm gonna work as hard as I possibly can, no matter what. I'm not gonna skip any days, and I'm gonna try and build this thing so that someday it will be my job, and that once I get to that point, I will work even harder to show people that I deserved to do it, to get to do this stuff. So it's possible. Anything is possible. Hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I hope it explains a little bit about me and what crazy decisions I've made in life. And yeah, have a great night, everyone. We will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.